Hey guys, it's Terry here from Money Matters for Everybody. Today I want to talk to you about how getting on a budget and setting ourselves up to get out of debt gave us a raise, how getting on a budget gave us a raise, and talk about how we use that synergy and momentum to get out of debt. Helped us to build an emergency fund, and now we're in the wealth building stages of our life. And I didn't do a scream down at Dave Ramsey when we got out of debt because of COVID. We got out of debt at the time that we went into the COVID lockdowns, which was a bummer. So we did a small debt-free scream here in our house, and I didn't really share it with anybody for a couple of different reasons. But when we make it to Baby Step Millionaire, I'm going to be screaming from the rooftop because this is a message that I think has to get out. If this youngest of seven, first to go to college, girl who grew up in a relatively poor to middle class working family can get out of debt, so can you. So can you. So I want to talk about how getting on a budget gave us a raise. So I previously mentioned how our family started budgeting a couple years ago. We use the free Every Dollar app, and I will plug that as much as possible because I love that app and I think it's so helpful. But the first couple months that we got on a budget, it was challenging. It was incredibly challenging. And I feel like I'm a pretty organized person, but by month three, I would say we were in a good routine. Maybe even by month two, but month one, whew, it was a hot mess. I'm going to be honest with you. So we would plug our numbers into the budget as to what we anticipate we're going to spend for the month, and we would meet before the end of the month to look at next month's budget and be able to organize ourselves with what was coming up. So we would look at the next month and say, okay, this is in the month of February, for example, we're in February. We anticipate Valentine's Day. Our family doesn't really celebrate Valentine's Day, but there's some additional costs, like if we do something special for the kids. In February, what else is there? In February, we're also looking forward to like maybe March, April, May. Do we have a vacation that we would like to go on? But at the process that we were trying to get out of debt, you don't go on vacation. So you're just trying to organize yourself to get out of debt. So you set up a budget and you plug in all of your items, and you don't really know what you're gonna, you don't, I don't feel like it's possible to think about every single expense I'm gonna have in one month when you're first starting out budgeting. That's why Every Dollar helps you, it gives you the bucket. And like you have either rent or your mortgage, and then you have all of your utilities. I list them out separately. I don't know what other people, maybe they don't, maybe they just have one bucket for that. You have your food budget, and then you can break that down into food that we eat at home, like groceries, versus food that we eat at a restaurant. Um, and you plug everything in, and at the end of the month, hopefully you have more money than month. Hopefully, fingers crossed, right? If you can make the payments, right? You're kind of looking like at the minimum payments that you're paying on your debts. And going through that process for us, the first month, it was kind of like a practice run. And I previously mentioned how I was mortified at the amount of money that we were spending on food each month and convenience. So when we were able to putting together the budget forced us to look at what we were spending money on, just how much, and kind of look at the percentage. And just being aware of that was life changing. So after that first month and looking back on the previous month and realizing, oh my goodness, we spent so much money on food. We're not doing that again. So Tim and I had to sit down and say, like, what do you think is an appropriate amount for food each month at the time? What do you think is like how much per person, per meal, etc. There are some people out there who are crazy. They can spend so little on feeding their family. I'm kind of jealous, I'll be honest with you. Um, we settled in on like 200 bucks a month. We thought, or excuse me, a week. We thought that 200 a week was a reasonable number that we could feed our family. You had to find out what works for you. And that whole process of food was probably our second largest expense outside of our mortgage. So it's an area that you're going to want to challenge. You're going to want to write down your meal plan for the week. Give yourself some flexibility too, right? So, and that's what we do now. We write down our menu for the week. We write the list of foods that we're going to need for the menu, and then we go shop in our pantry, and then we go shop at the store. And that helps us control costs. Does that mean that we don't go out for pizza from time to time? No. We actually set up an expectation that once a week we'll go out to dinner. Maybe it'll just be Burger King. Um, Other times, like maybe once or twice a month, we'll go support a local business. That I think is, we're out of debt now, so we don't have to be super stingy on spending money. But when we're getting out of debt, maybe that's an area that you can look at really saving money. Can you pack lunches from home instead of eating lunches out? If you're looking at what you're spending, that gives you some clue as to how you can cut costs. What can I do? Where can I cut? So hopefully that is helpful. So when we set up the budget, we automatically give ourselves a raise by just looking at what we were spending. And then I mentioned previously that I had worked 2 jobs for a very long time. I just quit my second job as a nurse right during COVID. So for most of my life, I've worked like 2 jobs. I was either working a full-time job, going to school, or working a full-time job and working a part-time job. And I also worked full-time, worked part-time, and went to school part-time. So I think that you just have to suck it up, buttercup, put your big girl pants on and just get to work sometimes. But at the same time, that is not sustainable over a lifetime without significant pain, in my opinion. I think it's good to be a hard worker. And getting yourself on a budget, though, helps you to predict your costs moving forward, find ways to save money, and then you can step forward and work on your debt snowball, get out of debt. And now we're at the point where the budget process is super simple. We spend 5 minutes a week, maybe 15. Okay, I'll be honest, maybe 15, where we sit down and we write out our grocery list and we shop the pantry and we we write out our menu, we shop our pantry, we write out our grocery list. And then we sit down at that same meeting, we look at expenses. Did we spend last week on anything that wasn't anticipated in the budget? Did something come through? Did a bill come in and it was higher? Like, hello, energy bills. Painful. Was there anything else that happened that was, oh, we didn't think about this coming up in the budget this month. It wasn't in there. So we need to kind of shift. Especially in that instance, if an appliance um, takes the hit. I'm done working for you people. And then all of a sudden now you're like, oh, gotta fit that into the budget. So I think that the point here is communication between partners and, if you're married or your partner, your life partner is critical, right? I think you have to communicate. And getting on a budget forces you to communicate. I want to put that out there too. You can't win with money if you're not communicating with your spouse. Hands down. I think that our communication for Tim and I got better when we started budgeting because we were forced to talk to each other about money. Neither one of us was a crazy, ridiculous spender. I'll say that as well. We were always very reasonable and level-headed. I just felt like we never had any extra money. And I think Tim would probably argue that, state that that is true. That we never really felt like we had extra money. We went on vacations. We charged it. I'm just trying to look at my notes here. Yeah, before we would eat out without questioning it. We would take vacations. We would charge it, pay it later. We used our credit cards. We would love the interest-free options that were available out there. We used our rewards, and how we just are never going to do that again. Never going to do that again. I remember to tell you about the time that I had an issue with Citibank. Never going to be using Citibank again. Okay. I want to talk to you about a couple things I want to talk about. So getting on a budget gave us a raise, hands down. The first month we did a budget, we just went all in. We did what we had always done, and then we reflect on that budget for the prior to the next month, and we were mortified. So we got on a budget, especially with food, and that alleviated a significant amount of money, freed up a significant amount of money moving forward. So that's where I would consider focusing on. If you eat out a lot, is there a way that you cannot eat out a lot? Are you short on time and you just feel like it saves you time by, taking takeaway or getting meals out? Because I can assure you that you could find a way, if you can find a way to meal prep, um, like take a 2, 3, 4 hour block of time, one day a week, and just prep your meal, cook up some grilled chicken, get some veggies cut up, and get everything set so that you can just kind of put a meal together pretty quickly. Some people actually have some great ideas for like putting salads or in a mason jar, which I was like, that's freaking awesome for meal prep. And then if you want a sandwich, you can make that the same day. You can, yeah, I just think there's so much easier ways. Some people get coffee out every day if they're, and there is this movement that is like this, you only live once, or this is one that caught me. I was never a you only live once person per se, but one that caught me was, I deserve this. I work hard, so I deserve this. Ever get stuck in that one? Yeah, me too. Um, oh dear. I don't know what I would tell myself if I was talking to myself, your younger me at that point. I deserve this. No, you don't. You don't deserve this. What you deserve is a future where you're financially independent. What you deserve is a future where you leave a legacy for your kids. That's what you deserve. You don't deserve coffee out at Starbucks for $6.50 for a cup of coffee. By the way, French press coffee. In the past couple years since COVID, I've been making French press coffee mostly because I feel like it's safer, it's better for the environment. We have had a Keurig in those pods. I don't think they're good for the planet. I tried purchasing pods that were planet friendly, and they were good, but they were expensive. So French press coffee is like a win because it's cheaper and it's better for the planet, in my opinion. So I think that's enough for Wednesday. Take care. Bye.